Hello again, welcome back to Portsmouth This Week. This is the 5 February 2016 edition. And our guest today is Portsmouth Police Chief Tom Lee. Tom, thanks for being on board again today.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
It's been quite a while since you were last in the show, and I know you got several projects underway, a couple of which we'll talk about today. I guess the big one that's coming up soon is the Citizens Police Academy.
We have the Citizens Police Academy that'll be starting Wednesday, March 2nd.
Okay.
We're taking applications now. Today was going to be the last day, but we're going to give it another week because we had a couple of people that have told us that the Wednesday night doesn't work.
Okay.
So it's in
You're trying
flux.
to juggle nights?
Yeah, they're trying to juggle nights.
Yeah. Okay, so there still is potentially a space available.
Yeah, we're going to give it another week, so potentially space available.
Okay, that's good. So, because this show airs tonight, but it also airs several times before that, so it gives people a chance to go down and they can get their application over the internet?
They can get it over the internet, yes, and just drop it off at the station or mail it in.
Super. Why do you think this program is so important?
Well, it gives people an opportunity to see what the police really do. We're not talking television. A lot of people wonder, how does the job go? And no one allows you. We actually, on our Citizen Police Academy, allow you to take a ride along in the cruiser. And none of the other departments are really doing that. So you get to go out and actually experience patrol with an officer, besides learning all about how they investigate, how they do crime scenes, DUI investigations. So people find it very interesting. Yeah,
I noticed you also even have kind of firearms, at least experience with it. Right?
Yes, another thing that we're one of the few departments to do is the firearms, which it's been, people have, a lot of people have never fired a handgun.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging to hit the target.
It is, yeah, especially with those old 45s.
And we use a 45 caliber. It's a large gun. It's got a bit of a kick. So, but our students appreciate it, and then we take them down there. We also demonstrate a taser for them, so they get to see the police.
Do they get tased?
No, we don't tase them.
Yeah, I know, because I understand police officers training.
You have to be tased, yes.
Yeah, I just soon pass up that part.
Same thing for pepper spray. We have to be pepper sprayed in the face.
Wow.
And you got to hold it and operate for a couple of minutes before you can wash it off.
Oh, jeez.
So you can always testify, yes, I've had it, yes, I've done it.
So you know the effect.
You know the effect.
Yeah, that's important. So this is a 10-week program. It runs in the evening, and you're trying to figure out which evening is that? Or is
well, we have it's going to be Wednesday. We've done it on different evenings. We've done it, last year was Tuesday. I think our first year was Thursday. We've tried to move it around to accommodate the most people, but then I have two people tell me, no, I can't do Wednesday now. So it's just, it's always a challenge trying to schedule it.
Now, how many people are in one class?
Well, we go 8 to 10 people. We have a small conference room. I know you've seen it,
Very
Doug.
small.
Yeah, it leads into when we talk about the building later. Yeah. So we can only have 8 students. We have gone up to 10 just because we try to accommodate some people that have tried not to get into class. It's always a challenge trying to work out with folks' schedules.
Yeah. And this runs from 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening?
Yeah, 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. It's a fun program, and everyone that's been through it tells us that they've learned a lot and greatly appreciated it.
Yeah. I got a comment I want to read to you in a second from somebody. How often do you plan to run these, and how often can you run these? Because I imagine they're pretty labor intensive.
They are. The office is all volunteer. All the instructors are volunteers. But it is labor intensive. It's a 10-week program. Actually, when we first started, our first one was only an 8-week program. And we were trying to squeeze too much into it. And that was one of the recommendations from the students going, it'd work better if it was longer. Sure. So that's why we expanded it to 10 weeks. So we're looking at continuing probably just once a year. But again, if we had a larger space, we could accommodate more students.
Yeah, as I say, I've heard feedback from some of the graduates of this program that's been very complimentary. I just thought I'd read some from a usually reliable source, Rich Talupsky, who sent a letter to the editor of the Daily News, and among other things he said, the police academy was one of the most fascinating and enlightening experience I've ever had. I gained a great respect for the complex nature of law enforcement and the multitude of tasks our police officers do, and the significant support they provide to the community. And with the many stories in the news about the conduct of police officers throughout the nation, if there's any question about the high dedication and professionalism of the Portsmouth Police Force, just ask me. So, I mean, that's high praise.
That is high praise
And-
from a source, as you know, Rich doesn't throw praise around lightly.
That's right. Like I say, usually reliable source. Perhaps during this coming session, we might be able to try to video a couple sessions or parts of them.
Oh,
Just to
yes,
be able
yes.
to show people later on what they...
Oh, that's a great suggestion, Doug, because some of them, such as our mock crime scene, that people would get a great idea. Not everyone can go to the academy. We realize that.
Yeah.
Some people with their schedules, or some people are older and just can't come in and do the program. But they could learn a lot by watching at home.
Yeah, we could maybe do a little mini...
Yeah, we could
thing
do
on video.
absolutely. And there's a couple of good things that I'm sure they'd be interested in seeing.
Oh, I bet. I'd love to do this too. I'm too stretched, I think, at this point.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to have you sometime, Doug.
Yeah, believe me, I'd love to come down and take it. It sounds very interesting. I know you also have an Explorer program for kids. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes.
You just came up on Facebook last night, I see, and posted it.
Yeah, we're recruiting now for the Police Explorer program, which is, it's kind of like almost the Citizens Police Academy for younger people. This is for teenagers. They may have an interest in police work, or they may just want to get out of the house and do something.
Yeah.
A lot of parents have called in the past saying, hey, do you have anything for teens to get these kids off the couch because they're playing video games all day?
Yeah.
And it's a once-a-week program. The kids who've gone through it have a lot of fun. Some people have gone on to law enforcement, become police officers. Other people just appreciate it. Some of the students at high school have done it as part of their senior project. So there's been interest in it, and we hope to improve it. It seems like lately we've gone from having 15 to 20 down to 3 to 5 kids. So not sure why the drop-off's been, but we're hoping to get a good group going forward.
Yeah, I think the point about a possible career is important these days anyway. You need something like that. Now, is that also conducted in the evening, I assume?
Yes, it's in the evening. Usually it's Thursday nights for that program. It runs the same hours. It's 6:30 to 8:30. We have 2 volunteers that run that program for a long time, Lieutenant Steve Holsel and Sergeant Mary Ann Perry. And it's open to male or female, ages 13 to 21. Sometimes a 13 or 14-year-old will have a sibling. We've taken them 12 years old if it's a sibling of somebody in the class.
Yeah. So people can get an application for that through your Facebook page.
Yes.
But also on the internet, on your police website?
Yes, or just contact Lieutenant Steve Holtzel directly at the station at his phone number of 643-0112.
0112, okay.
And just leave Steve a message, and he'll be gladly to speak to you about the program.
Yeah, and parents can volunteer their kids if they can get their kids to agree.
Parents can volunteer their kids. The kids, believe it or not, will have fun. They do trips. They go to see the Paw Sox. It's not all just learning
I
about
think
the
it'd be a
police
lot of
stuff.
fun. I think, and they'd really get a good view of what goes on down there, you know.
They would. They've done different things in the past, took them skiing. I mean, they try to have fun.
Yeah, well, that's good. Fun's the big thing here. And especially, it'll also show these kids what kind of facility you're operating out of now, and that kind of segues into the next big project. Probably the biggest project is your new police complex development program, trying to get that going. What's the status of that? And then maybe we can talk about some of the other parts of it.
Well, the next step in the project, we've already completed a space needs and feasibility study, which was the first step. Do we actually need this? Let's get outside evaluators in to take a look at the building and the police department. And they came back absolutely. I think on the square footage, we've gone around 5,000 square feet. We should have around 20,000 square feet for a department our size.
Yeah, so at least 4 times bigger.
At least 4 times bigger. And it really, it's the space, it's the building itself, the roof leaks.
Yeah.
It's got so many issues.
Well, you remember several months ago we were down there and we did a program in the police department. You showed us around.
Yes.
And
you guys got a good look at it.
we did. And if anybody needs to be convinced that we need one, I would say just walk down there and, you know, take a look.
Yeah, it's one of those buildings. It's funny when you drive by and say, "Oh, that doesn't look too bad." When you go into it, you realize it's just a long, narrow building, and there's no actual room inside it.
Yeah. Well, I saw some of the rooms you've designated as equipment rooms, et cetera, and I can't believe you're actually using those, but there's no place else.
There's no place else.
Like you were telling me about you have a new female officer,
Yeah.
and you had to put a locker in the shower room?
We had to put a locker in the shower room, which, you know, and I tell you, we have some great female officers, but unfortunately, when these buildings were built, they weren't designed with having female officers in mind. In 1995, they hired their first female officer, and they realized we're going to have some place for it. So they've converted a small section of the building, but it's really like, it's a bathroom, into a female locker area. And we have another female officer in the academy now. And we have to start building for the future. Female officers make great police officers, and more are interested in law enforcement. Nationwide, I believe there's about 11% now in policing. Oh. We're already at 14%, just in Portsmouth. They're telling us it'll be 20–25% over the next 10 years. We're going to have to adjust.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Navy guy, and I see the Navy going through the same thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I see people calling for drafts for...
I was surprised on that, but that's...
But you have to agree with it. I mean, you know, equality and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Was there any thought when they did this study of possibly combining the police and fire department into a public safety building or something?
There was. The actual... they took a look at 3 options. The first option, as you know, behind our building we have the DPW. And they thought combining all 3 together. Then they said, well, maybe just public safety, and we'll have police and fire together.
Yeah.
And those projects were just going to be cost prohibitive. Then they looked at each building and saying, well, which one's most in need of being replaced? And it's the police building. That's the most, out of any building in town, this one has to go first.
Yeah, I would think so. As I say, that walkthrough you gave us a few months ago was really eye-opening to me. Why don't we take a look at some of the things they came up with? This is a view, Bob, if you could zoom in on this, of the new complex as they drew it anyway.
Yeah.
Again,
So
you're
this
still
is-
going to go through architecture.
Yes, that's part of the process. And when you mentioned, Doug, the next step for the project would be the bond wording goes before the town council on February 22nd.
Okay.
So the council reviews the wording before it
No,
becomes
is that
on the
what
ballot.
goes on the ballot?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it has to be approved by the legislature, and then they put the question on the ballot. So
Okay.
it would be in front of the voters if everything's approved in the November 8th election.
Yeah, because price tag's about 10 mil, as I understand.
Yeah, it's 9.975.
Yeah,
and so
so hopefully people in Portsmouth will see this in the ballot in November when they go to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's our goal, and actually that's the best form of democracy.
Yeah, I
the
think so.
citizens themselves get to say whether we do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for, and we hope our citizens will support us.
Yeah, this is just an example, I understand, but
Yes, this is just an example, an artist's rendering of what the new facility would look like. And it'll have a large community room, so we could have meetings, the Boy Scouts could use it. We have so many times around town that there's a lack of meeting spaces. We don't have that, a training room in the police department even.
Yeah.
So this would allow us to train our officers.
well, even the lobby, I mean, your lobby is right in the front door. That's it.
It's right on the front door. It's a very heavy door to pull open.
Yeah.
It's non-handicap accessible, so this would address all of those issues.
Yeah. What's on the next one there? By the way, this is part of this feasibility and needs study
Yes.
that is now posted online, I understand. Or
Yes,
and
this is all posted online. They can just go on our website at the Portsmouth Police Department website and see this online. But this is what the proposed layout. So they'd build the new police station would be built in our existing parking lot.
yeah. So this is East Main Road.
Yes, this is East Main
the fire
Road.
department,
Yes.
just to orient people.
This is the
Okay.
fire station here. So it's in our back parking lot. We would still operate out of the police station while this is being built.
Yeah.
And then, because we have radio communication equipment, we have to still keep operating, obviously. And then when this new building goes up, this building will be taken down, and that would be the front area of the parking area.
Yeah. So it would be quite an extensive build.
Oh, yeah, this would be a big project.
Yeah. What's the next one you got? One of them, this is kind of my favorite because this shows you what you currently have in terms of square feet and what they think you need.
Yes. And if you look at it, and this is total square feet, so the usual square feet is actually less than this. The usual
Yeah,
square
yeah,
feet is less than 4,000 square feet, versus we need about 20,000 roughly square feet and a 16,000 usable square feet. We don't have room. Our evidence is out in trailers behind the building.
Yeah.
We keep buying these big gray trailers and just sticking stuff in it
Yeah.
because the building is just so overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, I recommend people go online, take a look at this if they have questions about it, because I think it explains in pretty good detail. There are several graphs and other things that, like these,
Yes.
that show people specifics. And I think they'll be amazed at the great work you guys do out of this really old, dilapidated, tiny building you operate out of.
Oh, they do. The guys do, the men and women of the police department do a great job in tough conditions.
Yeah. I think let's assume that everything works and the bond. Let's just best case the bond gets approved by the voters in November. When do you think we could start to see construction on this?
Well, once it's approved, we then would go to bid out the design and architecture for the building. So that would be the next step, putting that out for bid. But our best case scenario would be starting in the fall of 2017, starting construction. And then it may be 14 to 16 months worth of construction.
Okay, so
late 2018, we'd have the building up and open,
yeah.
if everything goes according to plan.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope it goes like that.
And one of the things on this which people don't realize is we have to update our communication equipment. Like a lot of the cost, people say, wow, that's a lot of money for the building. They're not realizing over $1 million is communication equipment,
Yeah.
which has to be updated. So this will have a new dispatch center for police and fire. We'll be working out of here in our dispatch center, which a lot of people don't realize that that's part of this new project.
I would imagine that technology is a big thing too.
Oh,
There's
it is.
Computers and internet.
It's computers, it's the dispatch station, the internet. There's a lot of money behind the scenes in designing this dispatch center.
Yeah, and even going in your current building, you see that there are a lot of specialized spaces in there.
Yes.
Including cells, for example.
Yes.
That would cost more than the average construction, I would
Well, that's what people don't realize, that you're not just building an office building.
Yeah.
You're building a cell. It's almost, that you've been in the back, Doug, taking a tour, not that you've been in there, but you have almost a small prison in the police station. We have a holding facility.
Yeah.
We hold people in the cell blocks. So it's not just regular sheetrock construction. This is a solid building. And this building, when we build it, this will be 50, 75 years in the future. This building, really, they're building it for 100 years out.
Yeah. Well, I know some people in this town are opposed to spending any money on anything. And what would you tell them?
Well, there are some people, but I'd tell them to come on by this police station. Come on in and see me. I'll give them a tour. Just take a look at it. I had one person recently that had kind of been opposed to it, and I said, take a tour, take a walk through. And again, they were surprised how small the building is. They didn't realize that there was no space for the female officers. And people don't want to treat people badly here in town. And that's what I found out. Once they've seen it and said, oh yeah, this isn't right that we don't have this type of space for people to work in properly.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out for me was your technology room, you called it. It was like a closet, and it was buzzing with electronic sound, and somebody was trying to work right next to it.
Yes, and that's somebody's office. And behind that, there's another desk that you didn't see, where another person sits. That thing is so loud in there that they have to sit in there. And we've added all these. They didn't have these computers when the building was open.
Sure.
So they've added all these computers in. They're right on, these servers are right on top of them, and they have to be kept running at all times. They have to have an air conditioner or fan on them so they don't overheat.
Yeah.
It's lousy conditions to work in.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will fix that, and in the next couple of years we'll hopefully see a new building there and everything. You guys have been busy doing other stuff. I know you recently completed some improvements to the firing range. I didn't even know there was a firing range, but that's down and back.
Yes,
towards DPW.
Yes,
Yeah.
Between us and DPW, we have a firing range, which a lot of people in town don't realize because
Yeah, well, it makes sense. You need one for.
Yes, and that saves us a lot by traveling, by having our own on-site range. But the range, we had an old donated trailer building on site there that was absolutely falling apart. The floorboards were rotten in it. We basically weren't even using it. You couldn't store ammo in it because it was not safe from the elements. So one of the things when I came here, I looked around and I said, well, we do have an inheritance fund. One of our citizens who wished to remain anonymous, had donated some money to the police department. So I used that money to buy a new trailer building. And we've completely redone our range. We've paved it, we have the new building in, we're hooking up inside a smart board. So it's going to be a modern facility, a modern firing facility.
Yeah. Now, are there requirements for policemen to re-qualify, or
oh, yes,
how does that
yes.
work?
You have to re-qualify every year. Annually, you have to re-qualify, but we shoot a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And we have a number of different weapon systems where we have a shotgun, a rifle that you have to qualify on also.
You actually use a shotgun in a range like that, huh?
Yes.
That'd be kind of interesting. Now, hopefully they're pointing, the guns are being fired down the hill, because if they were being fired up the hill, your office would be right
Oh, they're
there.
firing up the hill. We have a good berm there. My office is actually the office on the corner.
Yeah.
So I'm the corner of the building, but we do have a good-sized berm there.
Yeah. I guess the other thing you've been doing, and I thought this was interesting, you're still trying to get the police department accredited by the state.
Yes.
Why is that important, and what do we need to show to get accreditation, I guess?
Well, to get accreditation, we have to show that we have proper policies throughout the police department for any expected contingency. When I took over the police department, we had a policy manual about this thick. Now it's this thick when you print out the book.
Yeah.
It's actually all online because the books are so large. But we've had to look at everything we do, soup to nuts, how you inspect the vehicle even in the morning when you start, and have a policy for it. So this is part of accreditation. We have to show a policy, and we have to show that everyone's been trained in the policy and adheres to the policy. So there's a lot involved behind the scenes on doing this. And we've been working on this since I got here.
Why is this a valuable thing for us to do? Do we get some kind of any benefit out of being accredited?
It's a great protection against liability. That's probably the number one thing, is protecting the town from liability.
Okay, so in other words, you're using approved procedures.
We're using approved procedures that have been nationally recommended and recommended on the state level.
Yeah.
So that we're following policy. Whenever we do something, we're following it according to our policy. And that's good for our officers. It gives them a model to follow, and it's good for the town, and that it protects from liability.
Yeah.
Potential liability.
I would think liability would be an issue even in that old building you're in.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Particularly, people are so litigious these days, and they're more than apt to sue people.
Yes.
And I would think anybody that's had any run-in or been in your building under adverse conditions, more or less, could consider that. I mean, I think there's an issue there for the town to be concerned about, and yet another reason
Yes.
to upgrade to a new modern system.
Yeah. There certainly is, Doug.
Yeah. I'd like to thank you guys, all of your guys, whoever does the social media stuff. Who is that, by the way?
Detective Mike Morse.
Well,
And
Mike,
does it-
sure, I know Mike.
Yeah, you know Mike. He's been on the show.
Yeah.
Mike's our computer guy. He's our internet guy. He's our Facebook guy.
Yeah.
He does all the things behind the scenes. It's actually Mike Morse running that.
Yeah.
And he does a great job. And he's got a good sense of humor, too.
Well,
You might have noticed that.
Yeah, he's a good guy. And the interesting thing there is we were talking earlier about how do you get the word out to people about, like, the parking ban.
Yeah, today's parking ban.
Today's got a parking ban. And how people still don't even seem to know about it half the time. And one of the ways to do that is what you're doing, is by going on all media possible and just trying to get the word out. I strongly recommend that everybody in Portsmouth that uses Facebook go onto Facebook and like the Portsmouth Police Department, because it keeps them up to date on what's going on.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is just check your Facebook every once in a while. You had all that stuff. You had the stuff about the Explorer. Probably had the stuff about the Citizens Police Academy.
Yes, it's all on there. That's
yeah.
probably the best source we have right now for reaching the public, is our Facebook
Yeah.
page.
Oddly enough, not a lot of people read newspapers these days.
Yeah, and it's, again, I guess it's an age thing. I still read them, but it seems like less and less that people are reading the paper.
Yeah, and maybe in the old days, people listened to radio, talk radio more, but I think around here, most people listen to the radio for music. But you're right, the question is how to get the word out.
But when we had recently we had a coyote attack a dog.
Yeah, I saw that in the paper. Yeah.
And it was in the paper, it was on the news, but more than 6,000 people went to our Facebook page to read that story on our Facebook page.
Oh,
now,
so
we're in a town of 17,000
Yeah.
people, so that's a lot.
A lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That shows that
Yeah, it shows
that people are using it.
that people are using it, and when something comes up, it's the best way for us to get out the notice quickly to the public is usually to put it on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And then the media sees it on our Facebook page, and they're going to carry it also.
and Reed does that.
Yes.
I know Portsmouth Patch does that a
Yeah.
lot. And Jim McGaw of the Portsmouth Times picks up things, including this show, every week. So
Oh, yeah. Well, Jim does a great job
He
of
does a
covering
great
us, because
job,
he's in the station every week.
I know he's everywhere.
Yeah, going through the police reports. He's at all the meetings, the town council meetings. So Jim is everywhere and doing a great job.
Well, like I say, I applaud you guys for doing that. I know in the past there's been a lot of concern about, I don't know what, security, you can't tell people this, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of concern in the past, and I think that people realize if you have a good person running the social media, that it's a benefit, not a liability.
Yeah, I mean, people don't want, very strangely, and this is, today, we got this snowstorm.
Yes.
I got 2 calls from Middletown. I must be on their red, whatever.
Yeah, they're code
list,
red.
Code red.
Yeah,
Two calls saying there's a parking ban in Middletown.
yeah.
And
I got called also. I was surprised
that
at
seems
that.
kind of to be overkill. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a gigantic snowstorm.
No, and we actually don't do that on our code red.
Yeah, I know.
I was surprised I got a code red from Middletown also last night. We don't do that because it's not, we save that for really the emergencies. I'm not criticizing Middletown's decision to do it. They do it differently in their town.
Yeah,
But we haven't done that for just a regular storm. If we call you on code red, it's an emergency.
Yeah, and I think people have come to appreciate that, because then they know if you guys are calling, this is something you have to pay attention to.
Yes.
Today's a tough day for everybody. I imagine a lot of your guys are in work in the streets and the accidents and that kind
Oh
of
yeah,
stuff.
there's a lot of cars sliding around out there. It's a couple of slushy inches, but it's just enough to make it miserable.
It is. Chief, thanks so much. We're out of time as usual. I look forward to seeing new construction on that building starting. I think the building is sorely needed, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Doug.
And that's it for me. See you next time on Portsmouth This Week.
In March 2013, during Portsmouth's 375th birthday celebration, the citizens of the town experienced something that had not been seen in the town in recent memory. The founding document of the town, the original 1638 compact, was transported from the state archives and brought to the town for all to see. This year, to celebrate Founders Day that was proclaimed as an annual celebration by the Town Council, the Portsmouth Compact will again be here for viewing. On March 7th, the compact will be transported from the State Archives under police escort to the Town Hall. At 11 a.m., the Founders Day ceremony will commence. At the end of the ceremony, the compact will be available for viewing by the public until about 1 p.m., at which time it will be transported back to the State Archives. Please join us for this celebration of our town's founding.